Hey, and welcome to the tutorial. This is the next part of the hexagons inside Microsoft Word using Visual Basic for applications. And this time we will take what we have created the last time and try to visually somehow enhance this pattern. So let's open the developer ribbon and our previous macro, and let's see what we can do with this pattern. In the previous tutorials, we were usually fading those shapes towards the bottom of the page, and for this we were using the fill.transparency, and we were assigning this to be counter rows divided by number of rows, which gives us number between 0 and 1, which means that the top ones will be less transparent and the bottom ones will be a little bit more transparent, as you can see in this example. Let's try something different today. Let's comment this line and let's see what we can do by actually not drawing some shapes. So I will say if random is bigger than, for example, 0.2, then I will draw this. If it's smaller, I will not draw it. So and if I will just indent this one so it's more obvious. So the random function gives us a value between 0 and 1. If it's bigger than 0.2, which means in 80% the shade will be drawn, in 20% it will not be drawn. So if I run this again, some shapes will be missing. And the pattern is dependent on the actual random value. So anytime I run this macro, the pattern will be a little bit different. So if you don't like it, just delete everything and run it again until you are satisfied with the result. What we can do is we can, instead of having this a fixed number, we can also use the counter rows divided by rows, which gives us a number between 0 and 1. So in the beginning it will be 0, so everything, the random will most likely be bigger than 0, of course. But then the number with the rows will increase, which means that the possibilities of the random number being bigger than this value will be smaller, which means that the more rows we have, the bigger row we have number, the less it's possible that the shape will be drawn. So let's run this and see what happens. We have a lot of shapes on the top, but a few on the bottom. It will be even more obvious if I increase the number of rows to say maybe 8. So if I run this, the top row will be, everything will be filled, but going to the bottom rows, you can see a lot of shapes are missing in there. I kind of like this pattern. So let's see what we can do next. What I would like to do is to apply an inner shadow effect. So if I right click and select format shape, I can select the shape options and shadow. And I kind of like the inner shadow preset. It may not be visible in here, so I can open the format ribbon, shape effect, inner shadow, maybe this one or this one. So it seems like that there is a hole inside the page. I can easily add the shadow by just typing in .shadow.type, and it should give me all the possibilities, going from msoShadow1 to maybe around 43 or so. There's a problem with this one. Even if I search the internet for all the possible values, that is the MSO shadow type enumeration, it only tells me that the MSO shadow 1 is the first shadow type, which is not very helpful. It also tells me that those numbers should be somehow aligned with the drop down menu. But if I open the drop down menu from here, you can see that I only have around 24 or so presets, while I can set it to maybe 43, which is a difference. But with some experimentation, I found out that the first 20 or so are the hard shadows, which may be from the previous versions of Word. They are not used in this drop-down menu, so it starts at around 20, so this may be around 30 or so. Let's try what happens if I set this to MSO shadow maybe 30. So I will delete everything, run this again, wait a minute, of course, because it takes a while to draw all those shapes. And once everything is drawn, I should be hopefully able to open the shadow effects and see which preset is selected, and that's this one. So I probably want this going from the top, so I may change it to MSO shadow 31. I will not run it, but what I can do, I can maybe have a slight gradient used for the fill itself. And for this one, I will use a function fill.oneColorGradient. And I will quickly search the internet for some example, which is here. This is a one color gradient method, and there is an example here which sets this to gradient from corner, variant, and the degree. So I will copy it and just paste it in here. So one color gradient, style, variant, and degree. So the style, I probably want the style to be just a vertical one or horizontal, I don't know, maybe the horizontal. So I will copy the MSO gradient horizontal. Variant could be 1, and the degree is the difference between the current number, current color, and the next stop. If it's 0.5, the color will be same. If it's bigger than this, it will be lighter, and if it's lower than 0.5, it will be darker. So I'll maybe say to 0.6 or 0.7, so it's a little bit lighter than the first gradient stop. So again, I will run this macro and see what happens. And you can see that we have this nice looking inner shadow in the shapes, and if you have a little bit of gradient going on, it may not be that obvious. Maybe I will raise this to maybe 0.7 so the gradient is a little more visible. Run this one more time. Wait a minute, of course. Look at the result, and if you like the result, we are actually done with this tutorial. I don't like this one being just the alone in here, so I may delete everything and run this again. And with a few more clicks I was able to get the arrangement of the shapes which I kind of like. Of course, at any time if I don't like, for example, this shape being here, I can just quickly select it and delete it to get a different pattern. And as always, I can change the color theme to something different if I like. Maybe this green yellow, but kind of like this blue warm for this effect in here. And that's it for today's tutorial. Thanks for watching.